Okay, so it's summertime and you want to read some books, but you don't know what you should be taking to the beach. This is a video all about beach reads, a specially curated list of books that are sort of easy, breezy, fun summer reads that you can easily open at the beach and maybe finish in an afternoon. In this video, I'm going to give you some of my favorite beach reads, not the usual sort of romance, love stuff. I'm going to give you a healthy mix of everything. Thriller, sci-fi, everything you could hope for. Let's jump right into it in this video. First up, what makes a good beach read? I think I've come up with a couple criteria that define a great beach read. First off, it has to be propulsive. From the first page throughout, it is just pulling you forward by the scruff of your neck. Next up, it can't be too much of a thinker. You don't want to think too much of these. Some books that I really, really love, like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the Game of Thrones books. Those books are great, but I would not recommend them necessarily for the beach because there is so much going on in both of them. They are kind of colder weather books, the characters, a lot of complicated stuff. They're great, you can read them at the beach, but they're not what I would define as a beach read because there's just too much thinking involved in them. Next up, beach reads can't be too long. They can't be more than really 400 pages. Listen, there are some 400-page books that are actually like, 250 pages because of the way the words are sort of spread out. But for the most part, I don't want to recommend books that are more than 400 pages because they don't feel like the breezy summer reads that I'm looking for here. Next up, they can't be too literary. They can't be trying to win a Pulitzer Prize here. We just want books that we're going to enjoy, we're going to breeze past, and we're going to get through in an afternoon that we can move on to our next beach read on our list. So, now that we've defined what makes a good beach read, let's jump into some books that are actually beach reads. The first one I'm going to recommend here is Ready Player One. You need to read Ready Player One. It's a science fiction book that is all about this VR, virtual reality future, where there is a treasure hunt by this guy who invents this elaborate, insane virtual reality where the world is kind of terrible now in the future, but everyone is nonetheless engaging for the most part in this virtual world in which they can be anyone they want to be. They can engage with all sorts of IP fiction. They can fight alongside the Avengers. They can race the car from any James Bond movie. That is what is available to you. There's a lot of IP references here. There's a lot of references to pop culture. It's kind of a fun, easy breezy read. Now, something I'll always say about this book is the author, I'm not convinced, has ever spoken to a woman. Not sure that he's ever engaged in that sort of conversation because the dialogue can be beyond cringe at times, makes you want to skin yourself alive. Not great at times, but nonetheless, it is a fun beach read. If you can look past that, you can probably read this one in like a day. It's just not a super long book, and it is kind of a fun, easy one. So Ready Player One is one to check out if you're looking for a fun afternoon read. Next up, Razor Blade Tears by S.A. Cosby. Now, I just finished this one. I finished it in about 3 days. It is a revenge story about two Southern fathers, one black, one white, whose sons were married and who were brutally murdered in the course of this sort of mystery situation. These two dads, who are from very different worlds, band together to try to avenge their sons and find out why they were killed and seek revenge upon those who did ultimately cause them harm. Awesome book. Banger of a book. From the jump, you were kind of all in on these guys. It grips you by the scruff of your collar, very propulsive, not a long book. Felt like I could have easily banged it out in a day or two, and I wanted to. It just felt impossible to put down at times, and that's exactly what I'm talking about with these beach reads. To me, Razor Blade Tears is one of the best beach reads I've read in some time. It is kind of like a dude's revenge fantasy book to some degree, but I mean that in a positive way. It feels like it was designed to be a movie. It feels like it's in that sort of John Wick revenge story vein. If you're somebody who likes those kind of action movies, those kind of revenge stories, this is very much for you. I loved this book, Razor Blade Tears by S.A. Cosby. Next up, into the world of sci-fi, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. You need to read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I love Blake Crouch's other books. He has the Pines series. He has some other sci-fi books that I've also recommended here. Recursion, I just finished not that long ago. Dark Matter is all about a physics professor with a normal, average family who one day is taken into another reality where he is a celebrated scientist, and he slowly discovers that another version of him has essentially replaced him in his universe, and he has to fight to get back to his universe, while his other version of himself is essentially the villain of this story. Very cool, very fun book that I always recommend to people because it is one that grips you and you just feel like you're really in it from the jump. This book feels like a movie at times, and I mean that in the best way. If you're somebody who likes science fiction but isn't too much into like the nerdiness of the science of it all, it's kind of a lighter, breezier read in that regard as well. There is an Apple TV series with Joel Edgerton that people seem to love. I think it's well worth your time. Be sure to bring this one to the beach if you're somebody who's into that science fiction realm. Next up, a crime thriller, The Sweet Forever by George Pelecanos. You need to read The Sweet Forever by George Pelecanos. I love crime fiction. George Pelecanos wrote for The Wire, and that's kind of how I was introduced to his work at first. This is a very tight crime drama. This one follows a record store owner and a bunch of other sort of local DC folks as they are pulled into this cocaine shipment drama and the crimes arising from that drama. Drug dealers, cops. The world of The Sweet Forever is so great, so rich, so lived in. The dialogue is really fun. The action is great. It is a breezy crime read, and it is a gritty, fun one at that. There's a reason why this guy went on to write for, to me, the best television show of all time that has a lot of this grittiness in its dialogue and its characters. I love The Sweet Forever. If you like crime fiction, this is well worth checking out. Next up, Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. You need to read Angels and Demons by Dan Brown because it is one of the best beach reads of all time, to my mind. Dan Brown gets dunked on a lot now because, you know, all of his books are kind of the same. He kind of got famous with The Da Vinci Code, a book that is not nearly as good as Angels and Demons. Angels and Demons is actually the first Robert Langdon book, Robert Langdon being the cryptologist character that was played by Tom Hanks in those movies. But this book is actually much better than Angels and Demons. It is all about the Pope being killed and the subsequent investigation into who killed the Pope and the selection of a new Pope, the Concave, the Convocation. I know it was a movie recently, but this book is incredible. The cryptology in it, the mystery, the symbology, all of it is so fun. The setting itself in Italy, in Rome, is amazing. I know that these books are kind of a joke now. Dan Brown gets dunked on all the time. But this book was kind of the one that mapped out the whole thing. This is the one that started it all, and it wasn't quite a tired formula at that point. This is one that I found very difficult to put down when I first read it, and I think you will too. If you take it to the beach, if you take it on a vacation, it's one that you can definitely bang out in a day or two because it just is that propulsive, it is that quick, and you don't have to think too much about it. Every chapter is like 3 pages long and ends on a cliffhanger, and that is awesome because that's exactly what I'm looking for when I'm going to the beach, when I'm going out on a vacation to read something like this. So check out the Angels and Demons book by Dan Brown. Next up, Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. You need to read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a book that is an oral history, told in a oral history format of a fictional 1970s band that is definitely not meant to be Fleetwood Mac. Wink, 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 wink. It is about Daisy Jones, who is this self-destructive pop star, and the lead guitarist of her band, who is like this very driven, band-oriented guy, and how their toxic relationship kind of ruins people's lives and the selfishness involved. And very interesting story. Amazing show that was on Amazon a few years ago. But the book itself is really unique. It's a unique novel. Not a lot of books kind of pull off this oral history storytelling style. And for me, it was one of the more fun oral histories that I've read. Again, it's one that reads really quickly because of the style. So if you are somebody who is kind of into this fictional 70s rock band style thing, it's not a love story necessarily, it's just more of a history. And if you're into the world of rock and roll, if you're into the world of these sort of alternate histories, well worth checking out. Next up, Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. This is about a reporter who has to go back to her small town in the South to investigate the murder of 2 young girls. She's a reporter reporting on these 2 young girls' murder, and she has to live with her lunatic mother and crazy half-sister who she doesn't really know, and she slowly has to sort of work through what's going on, the nefariousness, the undercurrent of evil within this small town. It is what I call a woman in danger book, which is a very common recurring theme in a lot of these beach reads, where whether that be the girl in the train or whatever, Gone Girl, a lot of woman in danger books. And most of them are like some variation of bad. But this book is actually quite good. I really enjoy this book. In terms of woman in danger books, it's excellent. I think Gillian Flynn is a monster of the genre, an icon of the woman in danger book. She has 3 novels, and all of them I think are quite excellent. And this one, with good reason as well, is just another fun ride. I think Gone Girl and her other book that I'm forgetting the name of are also both excellent. If you were looking for any sort of Gillian Flynn fiction, if one of those titles really screams to you, maybe check out one of those instead. But this is, to me, the ultimate sort of beach read. But this genre, I couldn't make this list without including a book from the genre, because it, to me, is so intrinsic to the genre. Stuff like Verity that's coming out this year, which is like the worst possible version of these kind of books in my mind, is just not in the same class as something like Sharp Objects, Gone Girl, that kind of stuff. So definitely check out Sharp Objects if you're into this genre of books, if you're looking for a quote-unquote woman in danger thriller book. Okay, so that does it for me. This has been my video on beach reads. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more of these videos. Until later, I will talk to you guys soon. Bye now.